Okay, I'm Chapman, and this is my capstone. So when deciding a capstone, I had to consider my passions. I'm passionate about music, kids, technology from like a production aspect. I had to think about my opportunities. So I was involved at Faith Promise Church at the time, and I was involved in the Warrior Network my sophomore and junior year with Mr. Blackwell, and that's us from, I think, 2 years ago. And I had to think about my skills. I am not a musician. I'm terrible at singing, playing instruments, pretty much anything. I'm pretty good with kids, but like volunteered in children's ministry for a while, not for me. And I realized I'm pretty good at Warrior Network, so maybe I can incorporate that into a capstone. And so I decided on student infuse coach at Faith Promise Church, and it really wasn't like a hard thing to come across. It kind of just fell into my hands, and so I was pretty blessed to have that just come to me. Wasn't something I really had to go out and search for. And so I started working in the ministry with like-production in 7th grade, actually, at New Spring Church in Anderson, South Carolina. I ran production for Kids Spring, which is their student or little kid thing, elementary school, but I didn't have to be with the kids. I was just in the booth in the back, it's like I was never there, and that's how I prefer to be. And so with Warrior Network, I did the same thing. I never wanted to be the announcer or anything. I just wanted to run a camera and be fine. But I would like to think my skills got me to being the director of Warrior Network my first year being there, although the director had gotten in a little trouble, but I like to think it was all me. And so I got my start really in the Warrior Network, doing all of that. I learned so much through that. And so how I got involved at Faith Promise was I was actually pretty good friends with this guy on the top named Holden. I had seen him in the production booth a couple times during service, and I was like, hey, I used to do that a lot, so is there any way I could get involved? And he was like, yeah, let me just send you to this guy named Chris. And I was like, all right, that's cool. So I went up to Chris, and then he asked me for my number and my email and stuff like that. And one Thursday night, I was at Olive Garden with my family, got a call from Chris asking if I could just come in for a quick tour of the church so he could tell me where stuff is, what I should do. And so that was that. And then I was introduced to Jacob on the bottom, and he was my teacher, I guess, and he is 2 years younger than me. So I was kind of iffy about having to learn from someone younger than me, but it was fine. And so Jacob he was a really quiet, shy kid, but he just showed me the rundown of things. He's like, really, all you have to do is press a button. And I was like, all right, I can do that, that's easy. And so it's so much more than just pressing a button though. You have to be on time, you have to listen to cues, you have to be prepared for when the singer messes up, because you're running their confidence board, you're running the lyrics that the people see, you're running all the videos that the preacher cues up. And so seeing how on top of it I was with just the small things is how I got asked to actually coach other students to be a part of the production team. So my mentor is AJ Rucker. He does it all, literally. He is singing, he plays guitar, he does the drums, he runs the production stuff, he's over all the students. And at first I had Chris Looper as my mentor, but he got offered way better opportunities that he took, and he was still at Faith Promise. He's not anymore, but so AJ stepped into his place, and I really built a really good relationship with AJ. We became good friends, and him and his wife are the sweetest people I've ever met. I actually went back, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe longer, to get the paper signed for my mentor sheet, and we picked up at the start of it. He was like, how are you doing? How's your family? How's school? He's telling me he's really proud of me. He told me he couldn't have done his job without my help. And so that was really that made me cry a little bit, not gonna lie, because I was like, that makes me so happy to hear. I miss being a part of their team. But so yeah, AJ was just stepping into his position as I had been there for a few months before him. but he really helped me, and it's good to know that like I helped him too. So what I did was I participated in a lot of events, like you guys may have heard of Movement and Fusion. Those are like hours and hours of hard work and being in the church with all the people. And it's a little stressful because like you have hundreds of kids that like they're all watching like this big thing. Now most people don't really pay attention to like the production part of church. They're like, oh, like whatever. It's just like there's lights, cool. Like they don't realize like what goes through it. And so I got pretty cool like name, a badge to wear. I sat up in this control room with it was always dark, all these computers, and we were up in the very top of the church. So like this was my view from the big window. And so I would run the lyrics, the PVP, which is Pro Video Player. And when I was a coach, I would train like mainly middle schoolers to do this kind of stuff too. And it would just be me like saying, hey, like just press the button, and like hoping that they would catch on to like it's so much more than pressing a button, but I didn't want to stress them out. So I was just like, just listen to what they're saying and then hit the button. And many times there was one kid, and his name was Andrew, and he didn't go through Infuse. He like had started like a year before me, but he like could not pay attention for anything. And so they're like, hey, like we need you just to stand with him during service, because they didn't want to put him back through Infuse because it was like a 3-month process every week. And so I was like, all right, I'll just stand back behind him and like just make sure he pays attention. But many times he just like zoned off, so I would have to take over for him. But it was fine. I enjoyed it. He made me laugh. And so my concerns were my personality. A lot of people don't know how to take me and my humor, and I really like don't mean to be that way. It's just who I am, I guess. And I'm really independent, like too independent, I think. And so I had a partner, and his name was Seth, and he was this really like small guy. And at the meetings, people would always ask, hey, are you such and such's little brother? And he's like, no, I'm a coach. And I was like, why would they put you up here? You can't even like see you. And so me and him, at first I was kind of like I think he was in the 8th grade. He was young. And I was like, I don't know if I can like work with this kid. But he actually ended up like teaching me some lessons. Like he put me in my place a few times, like showed me like I can't do this by myself. Like I need somebody else there with me, especially like on days that I couldn't be there. He could always be there. And like when he couldn't be there, I could go like pick him up for his mom or whatever, and like we'd go to Zaxby's and just chit chat. And I was scared of failure. I guess that's like everyone's biggest fear, like no one wants to fail. And part of it was like, I don't want to fail as teaching, so like these kids don't fail for like the big church to see. And so I didn't want to fail myself, but I also didn't want to fail my team and the kids that I was having to teach this to. My lessons learned, teamwork makes the dream work, really it does. You can't do anything by yourself, don't try it. It never ends well. I really had to be humble. I got put in my place a few times because in the Warrior Network, I was the one who told everyone what to do. I told Mr. Blackwell what to do. Like, I was in charge, and like Mr. Blackwell let me be that way. If I was ever like being too overbearing, he would put me back into my place. But with these guys, I realized like, it's not me. Like I'm doing something so small just to go into something like that big, and seeing like what it does to like overall like all the hours and stuff before service that we would like have to put in documents and like go through run-throughs, for it all to come together for just one service was really rewarding for all of us. And teaching is hard. This little girl on the bottom, she was a pain to teach. She didn't want to be there. I don't know why she was there, but she was nice. It was just not like, I think it was more of a, my big brother does this, I want to try it. But you know, like production isn't for everyone, but that's fine. And so my future plans, I will be attending Erskine College in the fall, hoping to either volunteer, intern, work at a up-and-coming church called Second Chance Church that the old preacher of New Spring actually has started. And from then on, I honestly have no idea. You know, I think it's okay to not know yet, but yeah, so that's my capstone.